Alright, so we're going to put this thing back together. And the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to take some of this Type F transmission fluid. And I'm going to put it in this little cup right here. And I'm going to soak these seals and rubber parts in the transmission fluid so that it's got a little bit of lubrication on it before I put it back together, and they don't go on there, dry and maybe tear or rip or something. So there are the two seals, these washer looking things. You're going to put those in. There's this rubber, what do they actually call this? They call this a bushing, this piece. So I'll put that in there. I don't know if that's really going to do much. There's this rubber seal. It's just like a flat kind of cut washer. So I'll throw that in. Everything else is steel or copper, or some kind of metal. So there's no reason to put any of that stuff in this transmission fluid. So we'll let that soak for a minute or two. And in the meantime, I'll show you, I got this thing set up over here in the bench vise. And what I've been doing is I just squirted a little brake cleaner down, just right in the cavity where all of these seals and things go. And after we get it all put together, I'm going to hook up some hoses to these outlets, these two ports here, and we'll stroke the piston up and down and flush out any fluid that's inside the cylinder that we can't get to. The first thing that I need is one of those seals, and you have to remember too that the seals go in a certain way. One side of it has these grooves in it, and then the other side is kind of flat. And when I took it out, the flat side was facing me, so now I'm going to put it in with the flat side, obviously, facing out. And got to carefully work it over this ridge. And I checked this with the other one that I took out of here, and I know the other one is kind of tough to get over this ridge also. Now, obviously, my fingers don't fit down in that hole. We went to Home Depot and we got this 1/2-inch PVC pipe, and it makes a nice tool for pressing this stuff in. It fits right over the top of the piston, and it's about the same size as the inside diameter of the shaft, so I can just push these things in, and I can even tap on the end of it here. I know it's off camera, but I have a little rubber mallet. I'm just going to tap the end of this thing a little bit, not too hard, just to make sure that it's seated in here. Oops, yeah, see it did move a little bit once I did that. But now it looks like that's seated, and the plastic is not really going to hurt those seals. So now the next thing that goes on is this steel spacer. It's a washer. It kind of has like a groove cut in it on one side that's flat on the other. And we'll put that on here with the groove facing out, because that's how it came out. Now we're ready for the next seal. And this is another one that you kind of have to work over this hump. And just make sure we don't tear it. Okay. Okay, so now the next thing is that big rubber one. And that goes right over the hump without too much trouble. And now we need a little, it looks like a washer, like a flat washer. And now this flat washer piece goes on. And this is another one that you have to work over this shoulder on the piston. So I'm going to be careful again on this one not to cut it or roll it. Not to twist it when it goes over, because this one's very soft and kind of pliable. So we'll just slide that down in there. And then this has to seat inside of that blue piece that I just put in. So it's good to have this PVC pipe again. Put that on there like this, and now I can push it in and make sure that it's it's in there because we have to have room to put on the other, the spring, the snap ring. I think this wants to get a little bit of a tap on it. Let me tap that again. Alright, so now we have this copper looking scraper, they call it a scraper. And that's, again, it's it's concave, and it goes in like sort of with the crown pointing towards the top. So we put that on, slide that down. And now the last thing, the assembly goes back together pretty quick. This snap ring goes, there's a little groove it has to go in. So I'm going to use my, again, snap ring pliers. And the snap ring is, it looks like this. Where is it? There it is. That's what it looks like, and it has the two holes in it. And it fits. Oops. Trying to do this on the camera for you. Fits on the tool like this. I just squeeze it, and let me go. I have to step around the tripod here. A lot of extra steps involved when you make a video like this than just if you would do it normal. Now I don't think that snap ring is all of the way in the groove. I'm going to push it down with this little tool. Okay, it's set, it's in the groove, and we did it. So there it is in real time, how long it takes to put this back together. Almost, 5 minutes or less. If you didn't have to narrate it on a camera, it would probably go a lot quicker. And now, there's the piston. So now what I want to do is I want to get the hoses off of the power steering control unit, hook them up to the these two fittings on this power cylinder, and then we'll hand stroke the piston and see if we can't get some fluid to flush through this thing. I don't know how much fluid it holds. I hope it doesn't hold more than a quart, because that's all I have of the Type F. So my initial thought was to hook up the hoses to the power cylinder and then put one end of the hose into a cup filled with transmission fluid, and then I would pump the piston on the power cylinder and suck in and pump out fluid and kind of cycle fluid through the cylinder and flush it out. And I still think that's a good idea, but right now these are the hoses. They're really dirty, and it's not worth cleaning them because I'm going to throw them away. So what I think I'm going to do is just get some just regular short, like stock steel brake lines or something, at the parts store for a couple of bucks, and do it clean so I don't wind up pumping dirt into my power cylinder. Alright, so here's this setup that I'm going to use. I'm going to try and flush out this power cylinder. So I have it mounted in the vise, and I got some 3/8 inch, or is it 5/16 inch tubing brake line, and I cut it in half and screwed each end into the power cylinder. I have it going into this bottle, which has Type F transmission fluid. So now I'm going to pump this thing back and forth. It should suck fluid into the cylinder and then push it out the other side, and we should be able to flush out what's inside the cylinder here. So you're getting some air, and then we'll be able to see what happens with the, whoa, it's like sucking it out. It's drinking it up is what's happening. So I'm sort of filling up the tube. So let me put a little more transmission fluid in to my jar. Hopefully it doesn't take more than a quart, because that's all I got here. But we'll see. Okay, so now I gotta put this back under here without spilling all of it. Might have filled it up too much. I guess I can move the vise over. will also give me a chance to see if my seal was tight. But I think we're starting to reach the point where there's no more air in there. Well, I'm happy to see that the fluid isn't like super dark. You know, it's not a totally different color. I don't see a lot of chunks of stuff floating around in here. Just a bunch of air bubbles, really. And especially I don't see any leaking happening where I did this all these new seals around the shaft. So that's good. I can't really push it down anymore because I got this big washer on here. I thought that would help me to pull it back out. And it does. So I think that's it. I think it's good. I'm just looking at my seal here. Everything's nice and dry. Come around and give you a look at that. But I think it's worked. I think this has proven that this power cylinder doesn't leak. Come around and I'll give you a look at the seal. You can't really see. There you go. How's that? So you can see that looks nice and dry. So I would say this was a success. So what I'm going to do now is just take these tubes out of the transmission fluid and pump all that stuff back into the jar, kind of drain out this power cylinder. So I think that's it. I'm going to call the servicing of this power cylinder good. I'm going to mask off the important parts and just give it a little coat of spray paint. I'll squirt some grease down into that ball joint. This will be another piece ready to go back on the car. So that's all for tonight. Thanks for watching. Keep coming back, and we'll be working on the Mustang.